welcome to the Revealing Experience. Let's show Jim some love for that beautiful, beautiful music. Thank you so much, Jim.
Thank you.
I'm Sunny Daye. I'm overjoyed to be here. So let us sing together as we welcome in still those who are coming. We welcome, it's in there. Come on in, we welcome, we welcome, we welcome you. Come on in, we welcome, we welcome, we welcome you. Let go, be free. Come on in and take a seat. We're glad you're here. We're spreading love, joy and cheer. So come on in,
Come on in,
come on in,
come on in,
come on in. We welcome you. Come on in,
come on in,
come on in,
come on in.
come on in. We welcome you. Let go and be free. Come on in and take a seat. We're glad you're here. We're spreading love, joy and cheer. So come on in,
Come on in,
come on in,
come on in,
come on in. We welcome you. Come on in,
come on in,
come on in, come on in. We welcome you. Let go, be free. Come on in and take a seat. We're glad you're here. We're spreading love, joy and cheer. So come on in,
come on in,
come on in,
come on in,
come on in. We welcome you. Come on in,
come on in,
come on in,
come on in,
come on in. We welcome you. Come on in,
come on in,
come on in, come on in. We welcome you. Come on in,
come on in,
come on in,
come on in.
come on in. We welcome you. Come on in. Hey! Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Revealing Experience. In your programs is our next congregational song, and it is Reveal. Reveal, reveal the love that we are, the peace that we are, the joy that we are. Reveal, reveal the love inside of me. Reveal the love that I was meant to be. 'Cause every time I open up, love is what I see. Reveal the love in me, the peace. Reveal, reveal the peace inside of me. Reveal the peace that I was meant to be. Every time I open up, peace is what I see. Reveal the peace in me, the joy. Reveal, reveal the joy inside of me. Reveal the joy that I was meant to be. Every time I open up, joy is what I see. Reveal the joy in me. Yeah. Reveal hear you. Oh, yeah, yeah. Reveal
the peace inside of me.
the peace. Reveal the peace that I was meant to be. Every
time I open
peace
up,
is what I see.
peace is what I see.
Oh yes, reveal the peace in me. Reveal the joy. Reveal the joy.
Joy inside of me.
Reveal the joy that I was meant to be. Every time
I open
oh joy, oh joy, oh joy.
joy is what
yes,
I see.
joy is what I see. So reveal the joy in me.
And in that blessed grace of joy and love and peace, I invite you to drink deep into yourself, deep into the place that remembers who you are, deep into the love and the life of God, for that is what each one here embodies. That one presence, that one power, that ever-creating divine spirit brings forth all that is here, all that has ever been here, and all that is to come. For God simply is. And knowing the oneness of that, I know that I am that. And I know that each one here is that love and life of God. And as I sit in that, as I embrace that, as I move into the joy of that, I experience the fullness of each one here, and I give and I receive. I bring in and I offer. I love and I am loved, as each one here offers all that they are through Spirit. And I bless this time for us this evening. I bless the service, those who are here to bring all of this wonderful light into the world in this revealing experience, and offer all that God is to each with welcoming, with ease, with love, and with heart. Thankful that it is here and surrendering it into the law, knowing that all is well, everything is good, and life is so full and rich because it is simply so, and so it is. Hi, I'm Jan Hartman, and I'm practitioner here at Seaside, and I want to thank Jim and Sonny for the wonderful music, that wonderful way to bring us in. And this is the revealing experience, and we have just moved into February. And so the theme for the month of February is the presence of love. And the book continues to be Practicing the Presence with Joel Goldsmith. And so the attention comes from that space of that wondrous life of Joel Goldsmith. And Reverend Sunshine's talk this evening is Love Thy Neighbor. And so I chose a little bit of information from 365 Days of Richer Life, written by Ernest Holmes and Charles Raymond Barker, because it talks about the life of being a neighbor. I dwell in the household of God. The household of God is the household of perfection. It is the secret place of the Most High. The members of this household are all divine beings. Nothing can enter the consciousness of any of these people which contradicts the unity of good. Each and every member of this household is at peace with all other members. There is a community of peace, a peace and understanding, and a fellowship of love and unity. In this household of God, which is anyone's household who declares it to be such, there's no bickering, there's no jealousy, no avenue through which any littleness or meanness may operate. It is not only a household of peace, it is a household of joy. It is a place of happiness and general contentment. Here is warmth, color, and beauty. This earthly household symbolizes the divine harmony of the kingdom of God. No one is a stranger within this household. Nothing is alien to it. It is protected from all fear, from every sense of loss. Nothing can enter it but joy, integrity, and friendship. The same good that I realize belongs to everyone else. I do not desire a good for myself which is greater than the good that I desire for all that I know. Neither do I deny myself the good that I affirm for others. In this household, the host is God, the living Spirit Almighty, and all who dwell in this household are guests of the eternal host. And so with that as a framework, I invite you with blessings and thanksgiving to be part of all that takes place now with Reverend Sunshine Daye.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Wow, thank you for that divine reading. I was just like in it, just basking in the words of Ernest Holmes and Charles Barker. Yeah, amazing. I can feel the energy tonight. We're ready. It's almost like it feels like we got all the instructions and the seatbelts are on and we're ready for the journey. And I love that feeling of being ready for the journey, because at the revealing experience, it is indeed the experience and the journey in which we travel without leaving the comfort of our own consciousness or our own seats, but indeed that we make this journey inward to really recognize the one power, the one life that God is. And so it is to that I welcome you tonight. You know, Jan talked about my talk title being Love Thy Neighbor. And for many weeks I've been talking about God is right where you are, and really just kind of focusing inward, focusing here. And as we begin to then know and practice being still, our meditation, our prayer work, our affirmation work, our visioning work, our visualization work, it's important to then just kind of take a look and just kind of look out there and see what's out there and see how what's in here, how that might have changed my view or my perspective of what's out there in my experience. It's written in Scripture. It says that Jesus the Christ was talking. He says, if you have done this unto the least one among us, you have done it unto me. So he took a look at out there. He took a look at our brothers, our sisters, the people who get to walk this planet with us and who get to express in this human incarnation with us. And yet he was able to differentiate and just kind of say, if you've done it to the least one, you've done it unto me. And the way that that ties in with love your neighbor or love thy neighbor is we begin to ask the question of who is my neighbor that I should love? Who is my neighbor? Is it the person sitting next to you tonight? Is it the person who lives in your neighborhood? Is it people who you grew up with? Oh, that's my neighbor from my old neighborhood. Love those. I had a lot of fun with my neighbors from my old neighborhood. And I love those neighbors. They're really cool. The idea is that anything, or anybody that we can conceive in consciousness is our neighbor. Anything or anyone that we can conceive in consciousness is our neighbor. So that means not only our fellow travelers along the path, but it also brings into consideration then the planet, rocks, trees, the river. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Love thy neighbor. Love thy neighbor. So my neighbor is not only our fellow human beings, but everything. Everything conceivable. So the question is what is love? And how is it that I then display love? You know, we have a lot of ideas of what love is. You know, romantic love, friendship love, family love. But we're simply speaking about spiritual love, that love that God is. There is a law. The law of God is love. And when we are in tune with this love, when we are in tune with this law of love, then it is gentle. And it brings about peace. So if we look at how is it that I am gentle and bringing peace to my neighbor, then we have an opportunity to really look at our relationships, how we relate to others, how others relate to us. And we begin then to examine this idea of being gentle and bringing peace. And so think about for a moment maybe some relationships that are maybe not so gentle, or that may be experiencing some turmoil. It could be with a teacher, it could be with a teacher, it could be with a relative, it could be with a friend. You know, especially in situations where you stole my girlfriend, you stole my boyfriend, you took this from me, or you took that from me, or how come I'm the one who always has to wash the dishes? When there are situations in life, or that car cut me off, so I'm going to speed up and cut them off. There are always situations that we can pinpoint in our life that don't seem so gentle, or that don't seem like there's peace in the midst of it. And when we are loving our neighbor, we are bringing peace and we are being gentle with that situation. So whether it's Mother Earth and how we treat the planet, how we utilize the resources that are available to us, how is it that I'm being gentle? How is it that I'm being peaceable in the world? How am I navigating through all areas of my life? Because when I do it to the least one among us, Jesus the Christ was saying, you do it unto me, which really meant however it is you're treating others is really how you're treating yourself. He was really trying to teach us that there is, like I talked about last week, that there is a God self, a selfhood, that God is our selfhood. And really there is no separation between myself and yourself. And so as I begin to love my neighbor, I begin to recognize that I'm not really like loving anybody outside of me or bringing peace and gentleness outside of me. Really what I'm doing is I'm caring for myself, but not in a selfish and self-centered way. It's not all about me. You know, I got to have mine and give me mine and forget about you, not from that place, but from this spiritual place, from this place of love and gentleness and tenderness, this place of peace, that what it is that I want for myself, I'm simply bringing to every experience and every relationship. Knowing that when I interact with you, I am really interacting with God. I am really interacting with one, that selfhood. So if I curse yourself out, I am really cursing myself out, because there's only one self. There's only the one. So how I treat you is really an indication of how I'm treating myself, and how I'm treating myself is an indication of how I'm treating this relationship with God, with love, with joy, with peace. Because it is my selfhood. It is the only activity, the only thing happening right now. You know, I had an experience yesterday when I came home. I noticed something was out of place on my porch. And when I picked up the seashell that I usually keep on my porch, and I went to put it back, I noticed that my little statue of Kuan Yin was gone. And my immediate thought is, who stole my Kuan Yin? I can't believe it. I need cameras around here. What's up? People taking my stuff? Oh, it just burns me up. And of course, I too get to laugh at myself. And I thought for a moment, who, meaning self, or yourself being, is bold enough to come on my porch and take a Kuan Yin? Just a very spiritual statue that I bought at a yard sale for $3. But it's been sitting on my porch for a while. And I thought, wow, obviously this person needed that more than I did. And am I really harmed? Am I really harmed? Has this statue served its purpose? Isn't this indeed an opportunity for me to forgive? Isn't this an opportunity for me to actually go beyond this idea of a them and a me, or an us and a them? Isn't this indeed an opportunity for me to know that there's one power, one presence, one life, that it is that selfhood in me, and somehow or another, a yourselfhood needed that statue for whatever reason. And that I get to release it. I get to release it. And hopefully, the person who has it is getting great joy and benefit from it. As much great joy and benefit as I have received by having it there. That simple reminder of my oneness. That simple reminder to take a moment and really be connected. Because I put stuff like that around everywhere so that I might be reminded of my truth. And so now I get to put something else there. Now I get to look somewhere else for that reminder. And I don't get to hold it against anyone else, because there is no other person to hold it against. Because there's only the selfhood. And I get to let that go. And when I let that go, really, it's the way that I get to love myself. When I love my neighbor in that way, I am really loving myself. It's interesting because in the book, Practicing the Presence, as I was being with our talk this week, Joel Goldsmith reminds us here on page 68, the law of love makes it inevitable that the person who seems to have been harmed is really blessed, is really receiving a gift. It's really a gift. So a lot of times when we think, oh my gosh, that person harmed me, we have to know that no one can hurt or harm us, and that we cannot hurt or harm anyone else, because God cannot be harmed. And when I see when I see it as one, that we are one, we're not harming one another. And I know that it's a stretch, and it's kind of like, come on, sunshine, that sounds like double talk to me. What are you really saying? I'm saying that there's only one. So even though it seems like we're being harmed by it, it is actually a gift. It is actually a gift. And he goes on to say that the person who is seemingly harmed has a greater opportunity to rise than ever before. And usually some greater benefit comes to him than he ever dreamed possible. Whereas the perpetrator of this deed is haunted by the memories until that day comes when he forgives himself. See, at the end of the day, like last night, at the end of the day, I went to sleep. And I had a good night's rest because I was able to let it go, because I was able to just send love to that person. And when we love our neighbor, we're simply coming and we're bringing forth that which is within us to reveal, that which is in us to be revealed. More love, more joy, more peace, more harmony. When we live by the law of love and we love our neighbor, what we're simply saying is, I recognize God as you. I recognize God as you and as you and as you. And I'm simply coming from that place of being gentle, and I come in peace. Imagine for a moment our relationships that are not so peaceable, and where we might begin to do some work and recognize that there's only that one life. And how I talk to that person, whether I think it's an enemy or a friend or a family member, I have to know, and I get to know that that person cannot stop me from my good. That person is not in the way, because nothing can get in the way of my good. My good is my good. Your good is your good. And nothing, no thing, no person, no place, nothing could ever interrupt that flow. That which is for you is for you. And so to have this idea or this notion that someone is in the way of our good or someone is preventing our good, is for us to really think that God's in the way. And we get to remember that God is our life. And really what's in the way is our thinking. Is this false idea that we're separate from one another. Is this idea that someone is sick or disturbed or not enough or faulty. That's the mistake. The mistake is for us to think that we are something other than God expressing beautifully and magnificently as each and every one of us. We are absolutely on point. Just as we are, God is expressing beautifully and magnificently as you. And simultaneously, God is expressing beautifully and magnificently as everybody else. And this God self can neither hurt or harm another, and can neither be hurt or harmed, for there is only the one. And it is an impossibility for God to hurt itself or diminish itself or deplete itself. And so in this human experience, as we begin to cultivate and to entertain the idea that maybe in those relationships where there's not peace, where there's maybe some discord, maybe there's not a whole lot of harmony there, that those are the relationships and those are the situations where I get to really see the truth, where I have an opportunity to kind of go, I've been seeing this individual as something other than God expressing. I have an opportunity to love my neighbor. I have an opportunity to bring peace to this situation. I have an opportunity to be gentle here. I have an opportunity to love my neighbor, which is really loving God, the way God expresses as each and every one of us. Loving our neighbor also means that we have an opportunity and a grand opportunity to serve and to be of service to one another. Not that we lack or we need anything, but when I speak about serving, it's simply bringing the gifts and talents and that love and that joy and that peace and that abundance that is our life, when we recognize it and when we see it and when we know it for ourselves, is that I get to bring that with me into every situation. And I get to serve. I get to be of service, of gentle service, of peaceable service. I have an opportunity to really, really recognize that when I bring a glass of water to someone, I'm really bringing a glass of water to God. And that as that gift is being given of simple service, that I'm really being blessed. I'm really being gifted in that activity, in that service. So we have an opportunity to go within. We have an opportunity in our quiet time this evening to maybe be challenged. To maybe, instead of just picking a person that we know we love and we adore anyway, that maybe when we go into the silence this evening, that we think about a relationship that might be a little bit rocky, or that's not so gentle, or where maybe the harmony is not all that in tune. And the invitation is to simply think about that person and to begin to see ourselves, allowing ourselves to bring our love, to bring that law of love, to be gentle, to be bringing peace into that relationship. As you clear your laps and begin to go within, allow your mind's eye to even have a soft focus on a situation or a family member or a friend. And see yourself loving thy neighbor. See yourself being this gentle space. See yourself holding their heart and all that's true about them in your hands. See them as the very life that God is. For there is only one selfhood anyway. See yourself even being willing, just a little more than we were before we got here. Willing to be gentle, to be loving, to be kind. Knowing that the heart that you hold in your hands is that heart that is your own. That heart that is God. We're holding the heart of God in our hands. And we're being ever so gentle. And in our quiet time, we allow ourselves to love our neighbors. Love thy neighbor. Love thy neighbor. When we recognize that our life is indeed that life that God is, when we anchor it, when we know it deep down, we really know that there is no other. We really know that everything and everyone is God expressing beautifully and magnificently. And as we do this meditation practice this week over and over and over again, and we begin to simply take into our mind's eye the list of people who we think have harmed us, we really see where we can rise to the occasion. We really see where we can begin to forgive ourselves for thinking that the other person is someone outside of God. And even though their actions may seem the furthest away from what God is, it's simply our opportunity to know that beyond the world of appearances is God. That no matter what it looks like on the outside, no matter how much we think we've been harmed or hurt, that it is simply the world of appearance, and that we get to stand in our truth, that we get to stand in the truth, and we get to anchor in by our spiritual practice, our daily spiritual practice. There is one life, one power, one presence. That life is God. That life is my life now. That life is the life of everything. For there's only the one life. And God is expressing beautifully and magnificently as each and every one of us, even when it doesn't appear to be so. We get to know and we get to see beyond the appearances. And we get to be steeped in the truth so that we are that place of love, that we live by that law of love that is gentle and that brings peace to every situation. And so how grateful I am for this time in the silence where we've simply gotten a taste of our forgiveness work, where we simply have gotten a taste of anchoring in that truth that right where we are, God is. And that from this point forward, that we can use our quiet time, our meditation time, to know the truth for ourselves. To know that God is our very life, that God is our selfhood, and that there's only one self. And whether it's yourself or myself, it is the self that is living and breathing and having its way in, through, and as us in this moment. So as we move forward, we get to love our neighbor. We get to be that gentle place. And we get to bring peace into every activity of the day. Peace to the planet, our neighbor planet, our neighbor trees, our neighbor neighborhood. It is all our neighbor. That which can be conceived is our neighbor. And so we simply love our neighbor in every activity of our daily life. We allow this to be the content of our consciousness. And we allow ourselves to live from this place of loving our neighbor. It is so, and so it is. Amen. I thank you for the energy that you brought into the space today and the energy that we've created here this evening. It is indeed a place of deep love and gratitude, and we were able to go there tonight. And as this is a reciprocal service, meaning there's an ebb and a flow, we have been given, and now it is our opportunity to give and to share from our gifts, and to share from that place of gratitude, to share from that place of we've received a gift and now we get to give as well. We get to be the giver, and we also get to be the receiver. And so for those of you who have brought a gift to share with this spiritual community, I simply invite you to take those out and to hold them in your hands as the ushers come forward. And as our ushers are making their way forward, I'm simply knowing that we cannot outgive that which we have been given. That we get to give a portion of that which we've been given. And as we give, the invitation is to become grateful. Become grateful for something in your life. Whether it's a person, a place, a thing, a new job, a new opportunity, whether it's a new car, whether it's just a baby smiling or laughing with you, become grateful. And begin to give from that place. Don't give begrudgingly. I gotta give my tithes this week. No. Don't do it. Don't do it. Give from that place of, wow, I get to give this. I get to give this, and I get to put this in the basket, knowing that the reciprocal nature of life gives to me in abundant ways. And that as I give to the spiritual community, this spiritual community gets to give, and gets to give, and gets to give. And the spiritual community is here so that when folks come through these doors, they get to also receive that which we receive tonight, during the week, through our classes, through live streaming, because we give. And because we give, we also receive. So it's in that consciousness that I simply bless that which is filling these baskets, knowing that it is used in a wonderful and magnificent way, that we and everyone may know their life as the life that God is. So ushers, go forth and multiply. I love that part. And because we have given, we get to receive some more. So please welcome back to the stage my beloved Sunny Daye as she brings us the gift of music to lighten our hearts. Let's put our hands together for Sunny Daye.
Thank you, Reverend Sunshine. heart. Someone's in despair this day. Have you prayed from your heart? So many are seeking the way to go, and they need your light, you know, for your prayers of love. It lifts them high, it heals them, sustains them, and it sets them free. Your prayers of love, it lifts them high, it heals them, sustains them, and it sets them free. Have you spoken the word today? Did you give your all in prayer? The world is in need of what you say. Have you answered the call and prayed? Well, so many are trying to find their way, and they need your light today for your prayers of love. It lifts them high, it heals them, sustains them, and it sets them free. Your prayers of love, it lifts them high, it heals them, sustains them, and it sets them free. Yes, well, you are the place you need to start. So throw open your mind and use your heart. Don't waste the time, and don't you delay, 'cause so many are in need of a prayer today. Oh, so many are in need of a prayer today. Yes. Did you give your all? You see, somebody's in despair this day. Have you prayed with all of your heart? Well, just listen to the Spirit. Oh, it's telling you to heed its holy call for your prayers of love. It lifts them high, it heals them, sustains them, and it sets them free. Oh, your prayers of love, it lifts them high, it heals them, sustains them, and it sets them free. I know they can, I know they can, if you just pray. Yes, it heals, it sustains, and it sets us free. Yes, I know if you only pray, if you love your neighbor like you love yourself today, heal, yes, sustains them, and it sets them free. Oh, I know, I know, I know, I know it can, I know it can, I know it can. Yeah, yes, just pray, just pray, just pray. Ooh, there's power in the word, there's power in your prayer. Oh, I know your prayers of love, it lifts them high, it heals them. Yes, oh yes, oh yes, your prayers. How many know that prayer works? Yes, it heals them, sustains them, it sets them free. Yes.
Sunny Daye. Our very own Sunny Daye. Thank you. And
beautiful.
oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Jim.
That was beautiful.
It's the reciprocal nature of life.
Yeah.
The ebb and the flow of life. And this is an opportunity where we get to hear from you. Maybe an insight that you've had, an aha, something in the reading or the prayer or the music, something that was said or shared, or maybe even an epiphany from last week to this week. This is our opportunity to share with our community what's going on.
Hi, I'm Melissa, and last week I spoke too. But I want to say last week it went hand in hand and just sort of give in and trust and just let it go. And this week, I'm actually I'm taking a class right now, and we're talking about the 4 agreements, and we're on the 3rd agreement. It's about making assumptions. And I was just reading about this in the car and before I came in here, and then I'm hearing this message, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh. This just sort of goes hand in hand with that. And so it's sort of like, you make an assumption about something, and then you make a judgment. Well, the judgment's within ourselves. And then you have an acceptance about that, and then you have great gratitude for accepting and forgiving and just not assuming anymore. And it's just, it's a powerful thing, and this message tonight was really a good follow-up on that. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. We get to grow week to week, and so I love that we're in spiritual community because we get to watch and witness and bear witness to each other's growth and unfoldment. And it's a beautiful thing to watch, isn't it, beloved?
It is. I'm Kathy, and I just have a burning question that I probably ask every higher spiritual person I know, and I just feel like I feel like your energy I've never ever heard an answer that I'm going, oh, well, that's it. That it makes your talk and talking about how we are all God and that, and I know that with everything in me. But my question is, how does God molest children? How does God commit murder? How does God gun down children in a school? How does God do all those atrocities knowing that we are all God? How does that happen?
Great question. God doesn't do anything. God simply is. The life of God is eternal. So what we in this human experience may judge as murder or harm or hurt is simply an expression in the eternality of life. So our life is never ended. This life that God is never diminished or hurt or harmed. It is just our perception, because we think we are separate from this life that God is, that we see it in that perspective, that we see it in that way. But the more and more we meditate, the more and more we pray, the more and more we engage in spiritual practice, the more and more we anchor the truth that God is my life, I know beyond the shadow of a doubt that my life is never hurt or harmed or diminished, that it is eternal. And so though it may appear to someone else that people die or that they have illness or that there are these atrocities, God simply is. God is not doing anything. It is simply the life of God that is having this full expression, never being diminished, never being hurt or harmed. It is an eternal life. It always has been and it always will be. It just gets to express as each and every one of us. But each and every one of us is that life that God is. Make sense? Sit with it. Still don't understand how that happens. Okay, sit with it. Sit with this idea. Sit with this knowing as we begin to mature spiritually and as we begin to have a spiritual practice, it then becomes something that we know. It's just this knowing within us. And for some of us, it takes more practice than others. I mean, Gandhi and the Dalai Lama and some of our greatest avatars and teachers have sat with this question for many, many years and for long periods of time. And yet, the more we know it, sometimes the further away we get away from this particular truth. But it's through our spiritual practice that we get to know it more and more and on a deeper level. Plus, continue your reading and continue any classes that you're going to, because the more and more we begin to hear this and know it, the more it becomes just where we live from. It becomes part of our belief, part of what we know to be true. Do not give up. It is a practice. That's what my friend Reverend Mary says all the time. It is a practice. And in this practice, we get to know it and we get to live it. You're not alone, right? Yes. She's not alone. We're all on the path.
Yes, I had two good things really good this week. One is I realized that my kitty now sits in my lap. He always used to sit only in Bruce's lap. And so I had said, it's because I paid to get his teeth cleaned and he's putting all this money in. And then it occurred to me in my practicing the presence work this week, it could be all the reading. Kitty's sitting in my lap now. And the other one is I turned 62 on Monday. And it's a big, it's kind of like standing on a mountaintop, because I was told that I would not be able to work in the working world after an incident that I had happened to me. And I took that, practicing the presence, I took some of those sayings back out in the world with me. I was shot in 1988. I had 6 bullet holes, including one went through this hand. And I was told I would not be able to, I would not have a ball of a hand, I would not be able to pick up a straw. 6 bullet holes, 9 surgeries, 16 months of working on recovering. And so I'm just appreciating that I've lately, in particular, really basking in all these readings. I had heard you say to pick up the Science of Mind book and read a couple of pages a day, and I'm all the way through it. Anyway, I'm just lapping up all the goodies, and just had 4 days off to appreciate that I did indeed go back out in the working world again. I made the commitment to work 1 month, and then 3 months, and then a year, and just kept going. So I made it to 62, and lots of years in the working world.
Happy birthday. All right, one more quick one right next door.
Thank you. Relative to what you were saying about God doing all these things, that isn't God doing that. You have to understand that, if I may say this, that's a mind trap that people misunderstand what God is. God is just being God. He's not doing any of this crap. This is just, it's a material thought process that man has created for himself. You asked us to write a book, 3 weeks ago. I started one in 2002 and finished it in 2008 and put it down for 5 years. Can you imagine that? And then I got it all from notes I took from classes here and reading Joel Goldsmith and everything else. And I put it down. And then last part of the year, I picked it up because I was having some issues, and I thought, there's an answer somewhere. And then all of a sudden it dawned on me, well, Bruce, you have that you wrote it all down. And I had taken all these notes and put them into my computer, and so I went back to read it. I couldn't believe I was the guy who wrote that. It was such a marvelous thing. And so I printed it up, and for myself and for my kids and whatever. And for the last 3 months, I have been going back to it and studying my own notes, because what I got out of this church and what I got out of Joel and Marie Watts and things is all there. And it much more, because as I wrote it down and contemplated, more stuff kept coming up, came from God. It didn't come from my own head. It really didn't. And one of the big things was about this mind trap thing, that we get involved in this humanism, if you would, that we think that's the reality. And in the Course in Miracles, it talks about the ego, where the ego is this mindset that would like to tell you that you will suffer from your past and you'll be afraid of your future. And you'll either be in the past being guilty of what you did, or you'll be in the future fearing what's happening. You'll never be here right now. And this is part of this business about being here now, is to not let those mind traps take you away from who you are in God. And it really works. My whole life works by it. And it's just some marvelous stuff that's really come up for me. And I'm about the happiest guy I've ever been in my entire life.
Sounds like your life is amazing. And that's the key, is that as we continue to hear, and as we continue to read, and as we continue to fill the content of our consciousness with the truth, and with more and more knowing, it just becomes a part of who we are. It just becomes this knowing. And that's what we want to do, is we want to not only be in spiritual community, but we want to study, we want to be involved in our spiritual practice, so that we live from this place. We live from this place of Godness, this place of love, being gentle, this place of bringing peace. And it happens for each and every one of us as we do our work, as we are on this journey together, as we write down things for ourselves so that we can remember it, so that we can just tell it to our friends and our neighbors. We begin to live from that place. And that's why we're called practitioners, because we get to practice it. We are all practitioners of this truth when we practice it. So, speaking of practitioners, I am so grateful for our pulpit practitioner, Jan Hartman, who came up and did our reading. Thank you so much for that reading and that prayer. We also have Cameron in the back, who's been holding the light for us as a practitioner. So thank you so much, Cameron. We are offering prayer. So if there's something that you'd like prayer about or around, or something that you need to know, or if you're like super grateful and on top of the world and you're just feeling gratitude and you want to pray around the gratitude and just, all of that celebratory stuff, please see our practitioners. Just outside of these doors is our small little chapel, and they're happy to pray with you and to have a word of prayer with you. If you decide to exit that way to your vehicles, please do so quietly, so as not to interrupt the prayer. Not that it could be interrupted, but just so that they have that moment of quietness, so that the prayer can really, really be steeped. And the invitation is to join me and Sunny out in the family room. We have some refreshments out there immediately after service, so please avail yourself to some fellowship in our community, and don't leave so quickly. I want to thank Tim, who's doing our live streaming, and Melanie, who's doing our audio. Tim and his team are doing such a fabulous job. And Jenny, thank you for all the logistics and everything that you do. And Jim Bianchi and Sunny Daye, our amazing music. As a matter of fact, I want a little more music, so why don't we go ahead and close this out in song, huh? All right. Bring it on. This song is in your program, but go ahead and just rise and be with us.
Thank you, Reverend Sunshine. Thank you. This is our prayer, a song of peace. We get to be the change we want to see, with open hearts and open hands. We lift our voices, in love we stand. Well, this is our prayer, a song of peace. We get to be the change we want to see, with open hearts This is our prayer, a song of peace. We get to be the change we want to see, with open hearts and open hands. We lift our voices, in love we stand. We lift our voices, in love we stand. We lift our voices, in love we stand. And so it is.
So it is.
All right, let's go forth and multiply.
Wherever we go.